Vincent Keymer, playing white, started the game with pawn e4, and Javokhir Sindarov responded symmetrically with pawn e5. Keymer then developed his knight to g3, and Sindarov mirrored the move with knight to g6. White expanded in the center with pawn d4, prompting black to capture with pawn exd4. White developed knight f3, while black pushed pawn c5 to exert more control over the center. Keymer played pawn c3 to reinforce the center, but Sindarov opted for an early central strike with pawn d5 instead of capturing on c3, which was considered an inaccuracy. White captured with pawn cxd4, and black responded with pawn dex4. Keymer's knight recaptured on e4, and Sindarov developed his bishop to c6. White played bishop to d3, after which black captured on d4 with pawn cxd4. Keymer initiated an aggressive approach with knight to g5, eyeing potential kingside weaknesses. Sindarov responded with queen to c7, and white exchanged his light-squared bishop for the knight on g6, forcing black's pawn to recapture on g6. Keymer then grabbed the central pawn on d4 with his knight, and Sindarov activated his bishop with bd5. White exchanged queens with qx-c7+, and black recaptured with king to c7. Keymer played pawn f3 to solidify his structure, and Sindarov responded with pawn b6. White checked with knight to b5+, forcing black's king to b7. White continued by retreating his knight to c3, while black activated his bishop with bc4. Keymer exchanged rooks with rxd8, and black recaptured with rxd8. White expanded on the queenside with pawn b3, and Sindarov maneuvered his bishop to e7.
B takes c4. Bishop takes g5. King c2. Knight e7. Knight e4. Bishop f4. Bishop c3. Bishop takes h2. Bishop takes g7. Knight f5. Bishop f6. Rook d7. King c3. Bishop c7. Rook e1. Bishop f4. c5. Knight e3. C takes b6. A takes b6. Rook e2. Knight d5 check. King b3. Knight takes f6. Knight takes f6. Rook d2. Rook takes d2. Bishop takes d2. King c4. King c6. a4. Bishop g5. Knight d5. Bishop d2. Knight f6. Bishop g5. Knight e4. Bishop e7. Knight c3. Bishop g5. Knight d1. Bishop h6. Knight f2. Bishop f8. Knight d3. Bishop d6. King d4. Bishop g3. Knight b4 check. King d6. King c4. Bishop f2. King b5. f5. Knight d3. Bishop d4. King c4. Bishop e3. Knight b4. King e5. Knight d5. Bishop f2. Knight e7. g5. King b5. King f4. Knight d5 check. King g3. Knight takes b6. Bishop e1. Knight d5. King takes g2.
The game remained balanced until Keymer played f4, blundering into a tactical shot. Sindarov capitalized with pawn g4, gaining a decisive advantage. Keymer attempted to defend, but Sindarov skillfully converted his advantage by pushing his kingside pawns and bringing his pieces to optimal squares. Keymer's final blunder, knight f8, allowed Sindarov to force a decisive breakthrough with king activity and pawn pushes. Despite Keymer's last attempts with pawn a5, Sindarov played pawn g3, ensuring a winning position. White could not stop black's connected pawns and resigned. Sindarov secured victory in a well-fought endgame, showcasing precise technique under time pressure.